Your whispers are getting softer. Your shouting is getting harsher.
Welcome back to the Purple Pod, the best K-State podcast out there. I'm Steve.
I am Ken.
And in today's episode number 11, we're going to be talking about K-State's big win at Texas Tech, 38-21. Before we get into it, make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, tell your friends about it, share all of that stuff. I know Kenny was just telling everyone in Kansas City all about our Purple Pod.
The cats are back, baby. They're back. And the streak, well, I don't know if it's a streak, but you know, the K-State versus Texas Tech rivalry, not really a rivalry, you know, when you win all the time, but it just happens to be the case that we just keep winning against this team. I mean, they just keep handing us W's, you know, even though like we looked amazing. We really did look amazing. I was, like you said, I was in Kansas City. I was celebrating. I take my daughter to World of Fun every year for her birthday. And we were there. We went out to eat. We were at some, it was kind of cool. We were at this place called the Nest Bar and Grill. It was a bar and grill off of a golf course. I just looked up someplace and I ended up there, and it was super cool. I felt so at home because there were so many K-State fans there. They had like a dozen TVs, huge TVs all over the place. And they all turned off the Oregon game and they all put on the K-State game right away. And it was just a thing of beauty. Anytime we had some big play or we made a touchdown, the whole place was erupting. And I was just like, dude, this is so sick. I met some cool people in there. Told them about the podcast. If you guys are watching, what's up? Glad you guys could hop on the show. My voice is a little gone today because I was screaming on the roller coasters and then also screaming while K-State was playing the game on the way back home. I also got a speeding ticket because I was so pumped that K-State won. So I got to pay $100 for this Cats win because I was so distracted by how awesome we were. But anyway, all jokes aside, super pumped that they won. I'm super pumped that we are back on this track. We get to come back home where we're really, really comfortable. And we're going to be I'm hoping we get to put some easy W's up for the next couple of weeks before we go into a very, very scary Texas team. But hey, man, we're riding high. We got like a fresh breath, a new like sign of life for this K-State team. I mean, things we'll go over it as we get to the show, but things that we were not expecting ended up turning out great for us. Things that we were down on ended up proving us wrong. It's been like unbelievable. Like last night was like a dream. It was awesome. Steve,
that is the best way to put it. I will agree with that. It almost felt like a dream. There are some scary, nightmarish moments at times, but overall, it was a pretty darn good dream. And you know, my thoughts here is, as we're in our initial thoughts here, are that this felt like an elimination game. I know it's really early in the season. K-State, Texas Tech were both picked to finish near the top of the Big 12. And, not only does the winner of this game get a one-game lead on the other, they also get the tiebreaker if they ever tied later in the season. Now, obviously, K-State lost to Oklahoma State, which they ended up beating KU last week, so maybe they're on the lookout for for finishing near the top of the Big 12. I don't think that's going to happen. I do feel like I said, I felt like this was an elimination game, a must-win type of game for K-State, considering how they lost last week and they lost at Missouri. It was gut check time. K-State had their backs against the wall. And like most teams do, they come out probably one of their better performances of the year. And we'll get into it as we get into the offense and all that. But, it was a must win for K-State. Thankfully, they took care of business. We're at the halfway point of the season. K-State is 4-2. And as we get into the rest of the season, K-State has 6 more games, obviously, and 4 of those are at home, which is phenomenal. 1 game at Texas, and the other game is at KU. So basically, K-State only leaves the state of Kansas 1 time the rest of the season, which is very good news if you were trying to get K-State back to the Big 12 championship game. As I plug in my computer here because it says it's going to die. This was a huge win for K-State. Must needed win. Puts K-State on the right track to try to get back to Arlington. I feel like K-State should at least take care of business at home the rest of the season. Now, it's hard to win any games in the Big 12, and we'll talk about it more as each game unfolds. But K-State put themselves right back in the driver's seat to get back to Arlington with this win. It was a huge win, especially against a team like Texas Tech that put up 39 points and only held and also held Baylor to 14 a week ago. For K-State, it won by 3 scores at Texas Tech. Was a huge win. And we're going to go ahead and get right into it here. We're going to be talking about the K-State offense. We're going to bring up the stats here. I will say, last week, as we're getting into the pregame here, Kenny said if K-State did not play Avery Johnson at Oklahoma State, they were probably not going to play him at Texas Tech. I disagreed with that. I said I think they learned from their mistake. And maybe Colin Klein was watching the pod and he was like, you know what? Big old Burke Nasty Steve is right. I need to be playing Avery Johnson more. And what happens, Kenny? What does Avery Johnson do in this game?
Well, look, guys, if you see my hair is pulled down, okay, I'm putting on my best cosplay of Avery Johnson here. Notice the name change, Kenneth Johnson. Yo, man, listen, the reason why I said what I said was because if you didn't play him in Oklahoma State when there was obviously it makes me wonder why they didn't play him in Oklahoma State then if they were planning on playing him anyway.
Blatantly obvious they should have been playing him.
I just I don't understand. If you were worried about the red shirt, then why didn't you play him in Oklahoma State? Oh man, now it makes me so angry because we could have won that game after we just saw the performance that he put on. This is this is why a lot of fans were so all about Avery Johnson, because they have seen what this kid can do and they had so much faith in him. And this guy is just a superstar, dude. He's unbelievable. A lot of people are like, oh, but he can obviously run the ball, but can he throw it? Well, he went 8 for 9. What did Will Howard throw? 6 for 9. It's that should tell you something right there. The offense, for whatever reason, just looked they just looked better when he was on the field. I don't understand why. Giddens and Ward were running better. Ben Sennett was getting open more often. I'm like, what is going on? Why is this happening when he's on the field? It doesn't make any sense. But at the end of the day, all I can say is this kid is he's going to be the future of this team. I still believe in Will. I still don't think we should just bench him for good. I think we need to continue to incorporate Will into the game. That way it also, I feel like when you do that, it'll pull a lot of that I guess pressure off of Avery, that he's got a guy like Will that he, if something happens, if Avery's off or if Avery does something, uncharacteristic or throws away something like that, they still have a senior quarterback that can come in and take care of business. So I think Avery, he had no pressure. He had nothing to really worry about. He was just going to go out there and just play a great game, and it showed. And it looks like Will, after what had just after last year, this is the only thing I can think of that's going through this guy's mind. After winning a Big 12 championship, I'm sure this guy has got so much expectations, so much pressure on his shoulders every single game that now after losing to Mizzou, he's probably thinking, oh my gosh, and then losing to Oklahoma State, it's probably just in his head now. And then you got to mix it up. And I'm glad the coaches, saw that and they could actually, incorporate the kind of talent that they have on their sideline to be able to bring in a guy like Avery and really, trust that he's going to take care of the ball and take care of the offense. And man, we just looked so good. Tron Ward played out of his mind. He was unbelievable. And this is what K-State offense is all about, people. This is K-State brand offense. We have got, I would say, arguably the best offensive line in the country, at least probably the most experienced offensive line in the country. And if you got something like that on your offensive line, you should run the dang ball. And it just showed how good we are at running the ball with Avery, Tron Ward. DJ Giddens didn't get a whole lot done, but he didn't have to because Tron, being the guy that he was running super hard. And it's like DJ had a great game a few weeks ago. Now it was Tron Ward's time to get a good game in, and it just ended up being like super great that we had these different looks and we have so many different points of attack and we have so many different targets that we could, that we could take the ball and run. And so I just love how this offense is really starting to turn into something great here. I think we started to figure out like what we're really good at. Again, I still want the only thing I have an issue with is that Ben Sennett still continue. I'm not mad about this, but Ben Sennett seems to be the only sure target on our freaking receiving line. Nobody can get open, but this guy, he's like Travis Kelce. He just finds the soft spot on the field. Nobody else can find it but him. But
he's a pro. He's a pro, though. You know what I mean?
Ben Sennett's unreal.
He's gonna be playing on Sundays for sure.
He's a future Sunday player. That's for dang sure. But dude, overall, I just think the way that we wanted to play from what I'm getting from what the coaches, showed us is that we were going to run the ball. We were going to pass it here and there to keep the defense, to keep them, honest. And then, but like, holy crap, hats off to Avery Johnson, obviously breaking the school record as a true freshman, 5 touchdowns in a game. Dude, that's unbelievable. 5 rushing touchdowns in a game. That's so crazy.
He tied Colin Klein's record along with Jonathan Beasley. And both of them were like juniors and seniors when they did that. You know what I mean? Avery Johnson is an 18-year-old true freshman. So.
Yeah. Again, like I said before, I don't think this kid's going to be playing more than 4 years. I mean, no, I think the NFL is going to be calling his name in 4 years. I'm calling it now. That's going to be my hot take right now. 4 year hot take.
In 4 years from now, we'll come back into the Texas Tech post game and we'll look at Ken Johnson saying his hot take is that Avery Johnson is going to be playing on Sundays.
What a parlay that would be,
Oh shit, I love it. Now, if you said he went in the first round, that'd really be a hot take,
dude. So. I think he's the kind of guy. You put some size on him and just a little bit more experience, and then you really work on that throwing game. I could see him being a first-round draft pick easily.
So I wouldn't disagree with that. Here's what I want to get into.
I said a lot. I'm sorry. I'm like fired up right now. This is what I wanted to see from the offense, man. After that abysmal showing we had the week before.
So here's what I want to get at. I agree with everything you said. Will Howard needs to continue to play. But we wanted what we got out of Avery Johnson was even more than we probably even wanted. We wanted him to be sprinkled in here and there at the offensive stalling or on, second and third and short, maybe fourth and short, and see what he could do because we know he can run the ball, right? Well, he ended up being 8 for 9 passing with a QBR of 93.9. I'm going to zoom in on it here in a minute. Will Howard's QBR, even though he's 6 for 9 and had more yards, his QBR, which is his quarterback rating, 29.7, which was lower than Texas Tech's freshman quarterback who threw 3 interceptions. So that just shows, obviously he was not playing well. This is back-to-back games. Will Howard has not played well. Now, I kind of feel a little bit bad for Will Howard because
I feel terrible. I feel so bad for him.
He came here. He had to play almost right away because the quarterback depth was nothing. And a guy that, everyone wanted to play instead of Will Howard is now playing on Sundays, right? Like the other quarterback that he was backing up is Skylar Thompson, who's with the Miami Dolphins. He's been in the league for a couple of years. Last year he won a play-in game basically to get to the playoffs. He started a playoff game. So he had to go against a guy that's now playing on Sundays. What happens after that? Kstate brings in basically the all-time yardage quarterback leader in every single thing, touchdowns, yards, whatever, from Nebraska, right? And he gets named a starter. And what happens? He stays and he ends up playing and winning a Big 12 championship game. And everyone's like, you know what? Will Howard's the dude. He's going to come back. He's going to lead us back to Arlington. And you know what happens? He plays pretty okay. But the last couple weeks, he's not played that great. And who is right behind him? Nipping at the bud is the best freshman quarterback to play at K-State since Josh Freeman. And we all know how that turned out. Josh Freeman ended up being a first-round draft pick. And, Avery Johnson looks to be as good, if not better, than Josh Freeman. I'm not sure Josh Freeman ever had a 5-touchdown game as a freshman. I'm sure he had it as, sophomore or junior, but I'm sure he didn't have it as a freshman. So Will Howard is he's kind of battled a ton of adversity. I feel a little bit bad for him. But you know what? That's football. You know what I mean? I don't know how many times K-State's had to play multiple quarterbacks in the season. Basically, everyone does. If you look at the Big 12, I think Texas and Oklahoma are basically the only teams that have only played one quarterback all season. And obviously that's turning out well for them. But at K-State, you got to have a couple guys ready. And thankfully they brought in the best freshman quarterback again since, the mid 2000s. And, Avery Johnson looked phenomenal running the ball. I did feel like at certain times they were protecting him with the play calls in the first half. I did not like all of the play calls, specifically on third down. I thought Colin Klein should open it up a little bit more. And, he did in the second half. But he also got a little bit ballsy by calling some quarterback power on 3rd and 10. And one of those, Avery Johnson ran like 25 yards untouched for a touchdown. Now, we knew the offense would look a little bit different with Avery Johnson running the ball and being a quarterback back there instead of Will Howard. I felt like later in the game, they're like, okay, let's work on some things. Let's pass the ball a little bit. And it worked. I want to see a little bit more of that this next week, and we'll do a whole another podcast on that. But hopefully, Colin Klein is not afraid to open up the playbook for Avery Johnson, because he's actually an Elite 11 QB who can throw the ball. He just happens to be one of the fastest guys on the team. I was very excited to see him in the game. He played great. And you know what? You touched on it. Tron Ward played phenomenal. I'm going to zoom in here. It's great. It's great for K-State and their depth that we had a guy a couple weeks ago run for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. And his other backfield mate this week ran for over 100 yards. Last week, Will Howard ran for 100 yards. His backup, who's now arguably the starter, we'll see going forward, ran for 5 touchdowns. So K-State's got plenty of depth running the ball. They ran the ball 47 times against Texas Tech, which had a top 50 rush D. And we talked about it earlier. They only gave up 14 points to Baylor on the road. And so for K-State to do what they did specifically on the ground was very, very, very impressive. Now, my question to you, Ken Johnson, do you start Will Howard like you normally do next week? He's a guy who won you a Big 12 championship last year. Or do you go with the hot hand and start Avery Johnson at quarterback against TCU? And we'll talk about it more later this week. I just wanted to get your initial, who would you start if you are Colin Klein or Chris Kleinman?
I think you have to start Will Howard. He's going to be back home. Let's not forget, he's undefeated at home this year. So, and he's also got the experience against this team. He beat them in the Big 12 championship last year. So he's gonna be coming in hot. He's gonna want to improve, man. Don't get it twisted. Will Howard's not the guy that's just gonna go and sit on, rest on his laurels, man. He's gonna come in. He's gonna come into this next week, and he's gonna be working hard as always. But I like what Chris Kleinman said in his conference. We should come up with a new segment called "That's What He Said."
That's what he said.
That's what he said. But Kleinman said, Will Howard doesn't play for Will Howard University. Okay, he plays for K-State University, and Will Howard knows that. And he's a selfless player, and he just wants to be on a team that is going to win championships and is going to win football games, and he's going to do everything he can to help the team, because the whole team is really centered around that idea right there. It's just, let's put the best person we can in. It's not about the glory and the Hollywood. Like Kobe said, Kobe Savage tells his dad, there's nobody that's really acting like they're Hollywood here, and that kind of makes me feel good that they're actually starting to glue together, become a team. It's not about oh man, this freshman, this young freshman's coming in. It's dude, Will Howard, I saw a lot of times Avery coming off the field where Will Howard's the first over there, giving him a big hug,
Absolutely.
slapping his hand and yo, good job, man. That's the kind of leadership that you want to see from a guy who's been through, like you said, he's been through a ton of ups and downs in his career.
Absolutely.
For him to be in there and just to like give his utmost support to a young guy who's got, obviously he was born with a talent that is just unbelievable. And for him to just come along and just kind of give him any sort of wisdom at all. But I still think you start Will. He's the senior. He's still the captain of this team, and then again, work Avery in there. I'm sure the coaches, they're going to see a way for us to get involved, get all the weapons involved in some way. I like we were just saying, we like the fact that there's so much depth. We don't just run, Ward. If he's like doing really well, we'll throw Giddens in there, even though Ward was doing extremely well all game. You want to take him off, give him some breathers, rest the legs a little bit, put DJ in there, let DJ take some hits in there, give the defense different looks because you don't know. And then because one defense could be like, okay, this is how they're going to do this, how they're going to play this. We just need to stop it this way. Oh, well, here comes Avery now. Here comes Trayshawn. Now we need to expect some explosive running plays. And then they're like, okay, well, they're just going to run it then. Then what happens? Ben Sennett gets out, gets open. Avery throws to him. And we get like 35 yards. I mean, it's unbelievable. Then Will comes back in. But there at the end of the game, they just went ahead and said, look, Avery is on fire. Let's just keep him in, which I respect that. Keep instilling confidence into your future quarterback, because look, he is our future quarterback. No question about it. I still think you got to start Will. He's the senior, man. All the offensive line, they've been working with him for all these years. He's got a lot of seniors that he's known for a long time. He's just got something going on in his head, I feel like. And I think with the win like this, and then coming up and having a whole week to really prepare for TCU, I think you put him in, you see what he looks like. Hopefully we come down, we score on the first drive, and then we just get right back on track to where we were in the early part of the season. And even before then, like Big 12 championship season, I hope he gets back on that. I don't ever want to throw away somebody that has like the experience and the talent that Will has, because we've seen him win a Big 12 championship for us. And I don't think we should just like get rid of him and just like put him to the wayside and then just go with this, explosive talent that we have. I mean, it just doesn't seem right to me,
Absolutely. And they always say if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one quarterback. And I would normally agree with that. But the difference between that whole old adage and what K-State has is that both of K-State's quarterbacks are talented. Typically you have two quarterbacks because neither one are very good, right? Will Howard's won a Big 12 championship. Avery Johnson is electric. They both bring something different to the table, and both can still do the other thing as well. Will Howard can still run the ball.
Yeah.
Avery Johnson can definitely pass the ball. So defenses are going to be on their heels trying to figure out what K-State is going to do offensively. And you know what? You still got those two really good running backs and an NFL tight end. I do feel like you said, K-State's got to figure out a way to get some of these other receivers.
They got it. Look at this. Look at the targets here.
Yeah, it's not good. And like the top two guys are not going to be here next year. Phillip Brooks is 6th year at K-State. Ben Sennett's going to be playing on Sundays. Like they've got to figure out a way to get someone else involved in the passing game. They just have to. Now, thankfully, Texas Tech was just like they did last year. They couldn't stop the quarterback run game, so K-State just kept going to it. But some teams are going to be able to stop that. So K-State's got to get these receivers involved more. They got to get some better play calls. This was not, in my opinion, one of Colin Klein's best games. In fact, it felt like back-to-back games, Colin Klein did not call a very good game. And we'll see what he does going forward with quarterbacks and the play calls. But you said it, man. They got to get the receivers involved in some way, whether it's screens more, slants, go routes. I don't know. They got to
get open. That's the biggest thing. They got to get open. Look, when we had Cade Warner, that kid could get open. He was amazing. Malik Knowles, he had some moments where he couldn't, like he had a lot of hype behind him, and it was kind of like, it wasn't he didn't really live up to the biggest of hype, but
he still played pretty well though.
He still played really well. He still made some really good catches, but we we don't have people that can just get wide open other than Ben Sennett,
Yeah.
But hey, to the coach's credit, Texas Tech was just letting our run game go, letting us continue to do it, and they let us do it over and over and over again. So it's like, okay, well, if it's not broke, then don't fix it. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. And I like seeing the freshman Jace Brown getting in there, catching the pass.
Oh yeah, man, that was so legit. And it was like freshman to freshman, that was a cool little moment in K-State right there. Just, you gotta love these young guys, and he just gets the ball, makes a good play. It's like, that's so cool, man.
And RJ Garcia got in there, but I want to see more from RJ Garcia. We really haven't seen anything from Keegan Johnson. I know he's been battling injuries, but I want to see more than what we're getting out of Keegan Johnson. I really do. But Phillip Brooks, at times last week, I didn't feel like he played very good against Oklahoma State. Didn't feel like his
you were saying he was checked out. You said he was like completely checked out.
That's what it felt like from the living room. You know what I mean? But
guys, if you watched the game, you saw like against OSU, there was a moment where Will Howard was doing like a bootleg, and you had Phillip Brooks kind of lead blocking, but then he just like was standing there letting a guy just run right by him. Compare that to when Avery Johnson was doing the same thing, yes. And Ben Sennett not only does one block, but he freaking just gets two massive blocks for Avery to just cut in and make a touchdown. That was amazing. This guy is unbelievable. He can catch the ball. He can block. He can run. This guy is a beast.
I like how resilient K-State is. Every time after K-State has lost a game, they've come back and won the next game.
It's like they got a chip on their shoulder.
And I feel like Will Howard will probably have that same chip on his shoulder this week.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's already battled a ton of adversity during his time at K-State. We talked about it ad nauseum here. He's going to, you can either wallow in a corner or you can come back fired up and try to win your job back and try to play well and still win a Big 12 championship. He can still do everything. Everything is on the table for him. He just needs to go out and take care of business. Exactly. And we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Anything else in the K-State offense before we get into the K-State defense?
Nothing else, man. I hope we just keep riding this wave, man. Like, I don't care who's got the hot hand. I have complete faith in whoever's going to take it. Ward, Giddens, Avery, Will, maybe Brooks, we'll see. But man, I really, really hope we just come out against TCU and really just give it to them, man. At our home, we're undefeated at home so far, so let's keep that trend going.
Absolutely. I agree with that, and we'll talk about that game coming up this week. Let's get into the K-State defense. K-State defense only gave up 21 points, which was nice to see after, I guess they gave up only, 22 last week. But all the points they gave up this week were touchdowns. Now, here's what I'll say about that, and I'll get your thoughts on it here in a minute. They had 3 takeaways. They should have had another one. They should have had a pick 6, honestly. Your hot take, and we'll get into the hot take look back here later. that it should have happened. Let's be honest. Marquis Siegel should have caught that and returned it for a touchdown. That would have been an easy 6 points for K-State. Overall, they played pretty well. When one of Texas Tech's first touchdowns, they had to convert 2 4th down conversions, including a 4th down from the 1-yard line. And their second touchdown came on a pretty, arguable 50-50 play on whether or not, the linebacker for K-State, Jake Clifton, led with his helmet. Was that, I don't know what you want him to do. I really don't know what they want him to do. The guy turned around. He was just right there. K-State made him fumble. They recovered. Unfortunately, they called targeting. What happens? They come right down and score a touchdown. So that was kind of a 50-50 play. And the other touchdown that they had was definitely, without a doubt, an offensive pass interference. The guy just pushed Jacob Parrish out of the way and caught it. So basically all 3 of Texas Tech's touchdowns, I wouldn't say were lucky, but K-State definitely made them work for it, which is what you want to see considering how bad the pass defense has been for K-State. Now they still gave up basically 300 yards through the air and almost 200 yards rushing, but I still felt like K-State played pretty well on defense. Do you agree with that, Ken?
Dude, Austin Moore was unbelievable. he was insane. Like the whole, like as a whole, like there was a lot of injuries too. Like K-State was battling like all these wrist injuries and like with Jay Clifton coming out, like we were like, oh my gosh, man, like how deep does this linebacker position go? Because they were just constantly having to deal with that. They were dealing with Austin Romaine having some problems like with health. And it was just like, it was crazy to see it. Like, you're like, oh, please, like, don't crumble now. Like we really need to like shore up our defense here. But you know, what's amazing is that Texas Tech is primarily a rushing offense.
Yep.
And we were like forcing them to throw the ball a lot, which is like really strange. You know, it's like what I think because they saw every other game that we've played that, you know, we have a terrible passing defense, you know, like we let a lot of big plays go by. But if you're not known for that, why are you going for that? You know?
Right.
And what did I say? I said, one of these days, one of these teams are going to throw to Kobe Savage and it's going to be devastating for them. And of course, what happens? They throw it to him 3 times and he catches all 3 balls. I don't care what the camera said. He made 3 interceptions. I'm calling it now. There was 4 total. There's a typo on the stats here. It was 4 interceptions. Kobe had 3 interceptions, not 2. And but it all kind of came out with Payne, you know, making that first one, which was legit. And then that just like unlocked after he made that first interception. It was like interception city. It was like we were just taking the ball left and right. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are on fire right now. We are on fire. There's
one-handed, dude.
One-handed. We also need to like make some notice here. We were blitzing a lot, which like put a lot of pressure on the quarterback because they like, oh, they're just going to be throwing it. Okay, well, we knew that if they're going to be throwing the ball, I think it was you that called it. We have to be showing blitz a lot. We have to be like putting pressure on the quarterback because we cannot allow them to throw. We got 2 sacks. You know, we were liking the, you know, the 4 sacks a game. You know, but 2, I'll take 2, and I'll take 2 sacks and 3 interceptions. 4 interceptions.
Absolutely.
Sorry, 4 interceptions. Jacob Parrish, my boy, came back, and what did he do? He put up 5 tackles and 1 assist. I mean, he was playing really, really well. You could see like he was kind of missed in that Oklahoma State game. I mean, him not being there, that hurts. I mean, he was like right there, you know, on the top of the board right there, making a lot of plays happen. So there's not much you can really say other than like we played really, really hard on defense. I mean, we had a point to prove. I mean, like it was great to see. It was something else, man. It was really, really amazing.
I would have liked to see a little bit more out of the D line in terms of sacks and getting back there. K-State had 3 TFLs, 2 sacks. One of them though was by freshman linebacker Austin Romaine, which shout out to him. I mean, he's been playing through injuries and he's honestly gotten better every single week. I feel like K-State lost Jake Clifton in a game because of the targeting, but he will be back next week because that happened with like a minute left in the first half. So he was only ejected for the rest of the half in the second half. So thankfully he can play the entire game next week. I do still feel like the safeties have to get a little bit better. And when I say that, I feel like VJ Payne has stepped up his game. You know, that one-handed interception was great, but he's been getting in there, getting a lot of tackles. The corners were playing pretty sticky, even though they gave up 300 yards. I felt like they played pretty well. The other safeties, though, I feel like McAllister's got to get better. Siegel has got to get better in the pass coverage. Like he's a very good run game safety. When it comes to the pass, he doesn't do as good. I mean, they threw it right to him and he dropped it.
And Keenan Garber did really well.
I thought Keenan Garber played well. And I thought Jacob Parrish played well as well.
Yeah, Kobe Savage, man, like there was a couple times. I mean, I don't know what it is, but our red zone defense is unreal. He always comes up huge there. He makes these like massive like tackles all the time.
His instincts are incredible.
It's so freaking nice to see, man.
I wonder how much of that is coming from the fact that he used to play quarterback, so he knows kind of what a quarterback would want to do in certain situations, down in distance, goal to go, all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. Shout out. I mean, you got to give it to Kobe, man. He really got his defense back on track, man. I mean, like the secondary has been an abysmal thing to look at over the last few weeks, and he really has. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a combination of him and obviously the coaching staff as well. But I mean, when you've got a young secondary, you really look to the senior there, and the leader of that sort of squad. And a lot of credit goes to him. I mean, I know a lot of it's coaching too, but I mean, when you got a leader on the field like that, and he's just making things happen, just really stepped up, and it showed. It really did for this game.
I agree. I want to touch really quickly on special teams, and then we're going to get to some players of the game.
Yeah.
I feel like this was the first game all season K-State won the special teams battle.
Yeah.
And I know, both kickers made all their kicks. The punters, punted pretty decently. I mean, they had a punt go 57 yards. We had one go 55 yards. Like I talked about, no one missed a kick. But our guy, number 16, Seth Porter, getting down there, making some tackles, some big tackles inside the 20-yard line.
Massive. This guy's a hustler, man. Put him on a Wheaties box, bro. Like he was legit, man. He's like like when you watch the movies, you're watching Rudy, you're watching Invincible with who's Mark Wahlberg playing Invincible. He's doing the special teams, running down the field. Dude, that was Porter.
He's looking good, was man.
He's that guy just hustling, man. And that's what special teams is all about. Like, it's about the effort, it's about the hustle, it's about the passion, and you just love seeing a guy like that going out, making it happen, dude. Tip your hat off to that guy. That's huge.
Absolutely. I agree. All right. Now let's get into our players of the game. This is a new segment that our guy, Mr. Ken Johnson, Ken Giddens, Ken Savvy, Ken, your real last name.
I wear many hats. That's not the phrase that you say it on, though.
He came up with the idea. We're going to do some players of the game, and we're going to do the cat of the game, which is going to be our offensive player of the game. And then our dog of the game is going to be our defensive player of the game. I feel like both of these picks are pretty easy. Who are you going with your it's blatantly obvious who you're going with as a cat of the game, right?
There was a lot of cats of the game that were nominated here, okay? There was, the Tron Ward, the Ben Sennett, but I think we have to go with Avery Johnson as the cat of the. That's my vote. We'll dispute it, but I mean, let's be honest here. Like, this guy coming off the bench as a freshman, a true freshman, 18-year-old kid in a hostile environment, and he puts up a school record as a true freshman for 5 touchdowns in a game.
Absolutely.
What else can you say? But that's impressive. This guy has to receive cat of the game for this week.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. I definitely agree with everything you said. He played phenomenal, 90 yards rushing. I think he had like 170, 180 yards total offense, 5 touchdowns. The first quarterback to do that at K-State in, what was it, like 12 years or something like that? Since his OC did it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty obvious pick. He should be the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week or the Newcomer of the Week, one of those two, if not both.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about the defense, the dog of the game, the K-State dogs on defense. This is a pretty obvious pick. I'm going to go first here. I think it's pretty obvious who it's going to. We're going with we're going with Kobe the Macho Man Savage.
Macho Man Kobe Savage, not Randy Savage. It's Kobe Savage.
Shout out to Cody, which I'm going to get into his. He sent me some thoughts, and I'm going to read them here in a second. Kobe Savage, second on the team in tackles of 7. 2 huge interceptions, basically 3, but one of them happened on the same drive as it. He could have caught the other one on. He played phenomenal. Is he also your dog of the game, Mr. Ken Johnson?
He's obviously my dog of the game, man. The biggest issue that we had was our secondary. 2, we couldn't turn over the ball. What happens? Kobe Savage says, "Oh no, I'm putting that to rest. We're done talking about how bad the secondary is, and I'm sick and tired of people saying we can't turn over the ball. He accomplished both things that were an issue in our defense, and he did them in this game, and it was glorious. And it was it was like a breath of fresh air. Absolutely. For K-State fans to finally, it was like a relief that we finally can turn over the ball and we can shore up our secondary defense. Kobe is the dog, the big dog for this week.
I love it. And, it was nice to see K-State a week ago. They turned it over 3 times. They didn't get any turnovers this week. They did not turn it over they had 0 turnovers, and the K-State defense got 3 turnovers of their own. So that was nice to see after last week.
It was like a reverse card. We gave them the Uno game. We gave them the reverse card.
All right, here's what our good friend Cody, who could not be with us today, said. Proud of the Cats. I only watched the first quarter, but I liked what I saw. And Kobe finally played like a savage. You love to see it. You love to see it. K-State's 2 safeties. They got all 3 interceptions. Last names Payne and Savage. You love to see it.
It's so cool, man. They couldn't have planned it any better.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to get to a new segment that also Mr. Ken Johnson, Ken Giddens, Ken Savvy came up with. Troll of the game. And I think Cody played a part in this as well. He's got a graphic. I'm sure it's on the screen. This could be a fan from K-State, could be a fan of another team, could be, whatever it is. But the person I'm going to nominate here as troll of the game could probably be the troll of the day every single day. If you go to
troll of the day, troll of the week, troll of anything.
Mr. Jayhawk Takeover on Twitter. Here's what he had to say after watching KU lose at Oklahoma State, which, a week ago, KU fans were all dogging K-State fans for losing at Oklahoma State because they're terrible. But you know what? KU ended up losing, and here's what he had to say. The Will Howard experience is the only thing that could possibly cheer me up. Sadly, they've benched him. So obviously he's watching a ton of K-State games. I'm surprised that's all he had to say yesterday, because typically he talks a ton of crap. You should have seen him dancing on Twitter after the whole KU ruling with them cheating, which that's a whole other topic that we can get into later. They got off scot-free with a slap on the wrist, which really upset me. But he is my troll of the game.
He is, yeah, I agree. Troll of the day, troll of the game.
Troll of the century.
The guy is the troll, man. He's just a big troll. We give you that. We're giving. You might receive it every week, by the way, bud.
We'll probably just go to him every single time.
We're gonna go to you every single time, unless something, somebody like. I mean, we'll have to give troll of the day or troll of the game to the Missouri head coach back when we played Missouri. We'll have to give all these awards. We'll have to go back. Well, we could do that really quick. We could go backtrack and give player the cat of the game or whatever, but. One of these episodes we should do that, because I know Will, he got cat of the game first 2 games, and I know that Phillip Brooks had a cat of the game at one point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But anyway,
probably against Missouri.
Yeah, that's for sure. But anyway, and then DJ Giddens had cat of the game against UCF. That's for dang.
I mean, we basically just did it.
Yeah,
we basically just did the cat of the game for the previous games.
Yeah,
so that was pretty simple.
Yeah, pretty simple. We'll have to tally them all up one day and then just give an award. Maybe even do a interview or something for the winners.
Dude, we'd love to get some K-State players on. We'll figure out how to do that at some point.
I have the gear to do a portable interview.
There we go.
I just need. Yeah, I've got the gear for it.
Yeah,
that'd be legit. But anyway, yeah, the troll, man. It's you gotta love the trolls in the world, man. It makes you feel good that they're doing their job, and then we can do our job by calling them out and putting them on blast.
I love it. All right, we're gonna get into our look back at the K-State hot takes and the K-State score predictions. K-State won 38-21. Our predictions were: I predicted K-State would win 41-34. Ken, your prediction was?
It was 45-36 or something like that. But I said that because K-State has been undefeated when they score 40 or more points. And I was hoping that they would score maybe a field goal or something, so they get right into that, 40 point 40-point range, but either way, we got the victory, and that's all that matters. Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, I just was hoping that we get back on that 40-point track, and turnovers help a lot. So
absolutely. And Cody predicted 33-30. So none of us were really close.
We gave too much respect to Texas Tech, man.
I guess so.
We gave way too, but why? Because we saw the game the week before, and we saw that they had beaten Baylor. That's right. They had beaten Baylor, and we're like, well, now they're going to be at home. They're going to have,
it's really
chip
hard
on
not
their
to
overreact
overreact to a single game. It's really hard not to overreact to a single
It
game.
is, yeah. Like results-based analysis.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and K-State's got to figure out a way to, deal with the fact that now everyone's excited about them again. In case a lot of people are picking them to do very well the rest of the season, they got to still come out that same mindset they did this past week. Backs against the wall, go 1-0, and we'll see what happens going the rest of the week. I'm going to give Kenny the win on the score predictions there. All right, we're going to get into the hot takes look back. I predicted. First, let's go. Cody's prediction was it was just wishful thinking. Basically, he wanted Will Howard to come back to play like his old self from a year ago. I also said something about Will Howard. I said Will Howard was going to lead a game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, none of those happened. Avery Johnson came in, played the game of his life. He played amazing. Kenny, with another really good hot take. You predicted something that it should have happened. Let's be honest. It should have happened. What was your prediction?
My prediction was that there was going to be a pick six, and it was going to come by the hands of Kobe Savage. I said that somebody's going to throw to him, and he's going to eventually get an interception and run it down for a touchdown. Now, he didn't get a pick six, but he did make several interceptions. Steve's putting up the peace sign, but it was really this.
Well, yeah, sure.
According to the referees that may or may not have been bought off, they said there was only 2, but it was really 3. According to my eyes. You're not going to tell me with my eyes that it was only 2. But anyway.
And Marquis Siegel should have had one in that first or second drive of the game.
Yeah, exactly. That was.
He should have caught it and ran it back for a touchdown. So I'm still giving both the score prediction and the hot take win to you, sir.
Man, that is wild. What am I the new? I can't be the new prophet on this show, man.
You're the prophet, bro. I can't.
That's too much pressure. I've got too much pressure to perform now.
I love it. All right, we're gonna look around the Big 12 and then we're gonna get out of here. All right. Let me pull up the scores for this past weekend. Which again, we're gonna do our best to not overreact to a single weekend of games, but it's really hard not to, right? Starting off on Thursday, that was probably the game.
I saw this. I saw a little bit of this game.
Houston, West Virginia, 41-39. Houston wins.
Yeah, the win came down to a Hail Mary throw that was incredibly caught. Somehow, those Hail Mary throws always end up coming up huge sometimes, and sometimes they don't. But, West Virginia made the big mistake of not batting it down. They tried to catch it instead. And this is what happens when you try to catch it. It bounces off or whatever. If you would have just batted it down, it would have been over. But Houston ends up with a massive catch to end the game and win the game. My overall thoughts of Houston don't change at all. I still think they're dog water. I think West Virginia didn't play very well.
This is good for us.
It's great for us. That's great for us.
Because we don't play West Virginia.
We don't.
To see them get a loss when they're not playing us against a team that's not very good, considering they still have to play, I think, Oklahoma this week.
Yeah, and what if they beat Oklahoma? What if they come out swinging because they're pissed off about that game, and then they beat Oklahoma?
I don't know, man. They lost by 3 touchdowns at Penn State, so we'll see. But, West Virginia scored a touchdown with 30 or 25 seconds left in the game to go up by 4. They thought it was over. They thought it was over. It was like a 40-yard touchdown, too. Houston, couple plays, Hail Mary, they went at home 41-39. That's a great game and a great way to end the game. K-State, obviously, big win. K-State's just got to keep going 1-0 every week. Go 1-0. Keep that chip on your shoulder. This past week was their first game all season they weren't favored in, and I liked what I saw from the Cats. Keep that same thing going forward. Oklahoma State. This was a game we all wanted to see what would happen. Oklahoma State with the big.
I've never been more happy to see.
win.
I've never been more happy to see an Oklahoma State victory in my life.
Oh, me too. Me too.
I was telling you, man. I was like, no, they're gonna win. And you're like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I said KU was going to win by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, you were like freaking the KU salesman last episode, trying to you were like the apologist for KU. I'm like, dude, what is going on here? And then even Cody was like, yeah, I'm kind of scared. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? KU sucks. Okay, I'm not going to change my view on that. So I was like super pumped. My eyes were like, when I'm standing in line, waiting for the roller coaster, I'd throw on the KU, seeing like where they're at. And I'm like, oh, nice. They're losing. Let's keep that up, boys. And then, yeah, it seems like the Cowboys have found their footing a little bit.
Yep.
So
I agree with that. They did give up 400 passing yards to Jason Bean, which really frustrates me. The K-State they had 11 passing yards in the first half against Oklahoma State. To see K-State not be able to do basically anything on offense against Oklahoma State's bad defense is very frustrating. But you know what? Sometimes you have a really good day.
Look at the amount of points they gave up. 39. We only gave up 28, right?
29, yeah. But one of those was a
29.
pick 6, so 22 points. So
yeah, 22 points. Yeah.
These last 2 games were pretty impressive to me. I did not think Iowa State was going to win by 20 points at Cincinnati, and I definitely did not think TCU was going to win by 30 against BYU.
Well, I had a feeling that Iowa State was going to win the game. We saw them win a bunch of their recent games at home, and I just was curious to see what they would look like on the road.
Sure.
Especially on a team that was coming off of a bye week. I was curious. I didn't think that Cincinnati was going to prove anything, but I didn't think that they would win that huge. And then same thing with BYU. I thought that BYU might have given Texas TCU a little bit more than what they showed, because I thought TCU was just done for the season. I thought they were phoning it in for the rest.
Threw for 400 yards, and so that's gonna be a tough test next week, and we'll get into that.
I think it might just be that BYU is that bad. They're coming. It's like this. It's like the bye. Like people coming off a bye week were just. They were terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
don't look now. Iowa State's 3-1 in the Big 12 with their only loss at Oklahoma. Let's look at their schedule really quick, because that's kind of crazy to think.
I know that we played them the very end of the season.
So they're going to play at Baylor this week. They should win. They got a big game at home against KU. They play at BYU. They should win that. They play Texas at home and K-State. So everything is in front of them as well, just like K-State. They could win out and go to Arlington. K-State could win out and go to Arlington. We'll see what
they're going to
happens.
beat Baylor. Baylor's
they are.
Baylor's horrible, man.
I didn't think they'd be 3-1 after going 1-2 in a non-con. That's for sure. And I am impressed with TCU's win as well by 33 points. They're going to be a handful next week. At first I thought K-State was going to win, pretty big, but we'll see what happens. As long as K-State wins by 1 next week, I will be happy.
Yeah. K-State by 1 million, right?
K-State by 9, Cats by 90, baby. Cats by 90. Well, this has been episode number 11.
Yeah.
Of the Purple Pod, man.
The 1-1.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And hopefully at some point Cody will come back. I know he's going to be gone for a couple episodes. Hopefully he'll come back at some point, but I do feel like we're going to try to still get him on the show in some way, in some fashion.
We will continue to make content for you guys. The K-State fans have been really great, generous, and we've really appreciated the support for our constant viewers. You guys spreading the word like you're doing. It's really cool. This is sort of like a passion project for me and Steve, and we're really happy that we could find the time, and we're really excited about the feedback. We really like the feedback. We're trying some new things. We don't want to be like everybody else and just kind of delivering the K-State news. We want to throw a little spice, and everything nice in there. So that was a Powerpuff Girls reference.
That is fantastic, man. That is fantastic.
A little sugar and spice and everything nice in there. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the next episode where we break down TCU versus K-State at K-State. I know you're going to be there, Steve.
Heck yeah. Are you going to be there? I know you
I'm
talked about possibly being there.
I am trying my best to get
Okay.
there. I will know. Actually, I'll double check on that, and I'll let you probably let everybody know on the next episode of Dragon Ball. No, I'm just kidding.
Of the Purple Pod.
Of the Purple Pod. The next episode of Purple Pod. We'll see you guys later, and go Cats, baby!
Go Cats, baby!